Hey guys, what's up? FlixTango here to talk about the TJV and Ohm situation and also touch on a few things regarding the delirious accusations. There's a few questions that I think are valid questions to ask, and I'm going to do my best to answer them and give you my perspective on the matter. So first off, as many of you may know from my last video on TJV, he received an email with alleged Discord DMs between Ohm Wrecker and some underage girls where Ohm Wrecker is allegedly saying some pretty explicit stuff. And TJV made a video on the off chance that they might be real, therefore they need to be addressed. But he also made sure to say that there is a chance that they're not real and they're possibly 100% fake. And he also pointed out that the person who sent him the screenshots was a little suspicious and couldn't give basic verification of the screenshots, which could have easily been done by simply showing Ohm's Discord DM tag. If you have those screenshots, and if they're real, you would have access to something like that, but the guy never replied to TJV. So TJV mentioned that in his video, and he says, of course, if they are real, it needs to be taken very seriously, but if these are fake, it needs to be taken just as seriously. And we need to find out whoever faked them, because it's not cool to fake something this serious. Personally, after looking at the messages myself and comparing them to tons of Ohm's leaked DMs over the past years that I still have on my computer handy, when compared to those, that's not at all how Ohm actually types or talks, for that matter. I tried to investigate to find any females matching the three names or description of those in the allegations, and the best lead that actually matched one of them turned out to be 23 years old in 2017, which means even if they were having, some type of sexual interaction, it's none of our business. It's totally legal. But yeah, I'm convinced that these messages are completely fake. But anyways, Ohm Wrecker, of course, got mad and told TJV that he was going to get lawyers on him if he didn't take down the video. He told TJV that even though you said these could possibly be fake in your video, I'm still going to get you for the disgusting name of the video and the thumbnail, which I could admit is pretty clickbaity, and I even suggested to TJV directly that, hey, you should probably change the name or alter it, or alter the thumbnail, really take anything away from him that he could possibly use against you or try to use against you. But again, if TJV said anything in the title or in the video itself, it was posed as a question. He never said anything was a fact, and Ohm claimed one of his reasons that he could go after TJV legally was, quote, declarations of things being true, but the thing is, there were no declarations. TJV made absolutely zero declarations in his video. So I was messaging TJV and I told him, yeah, I don't really think Ohm has a case. He may think he does, and he may have legitimately gone and talked to his lawyers to look at it and see if they could create a case around it, but I don't know if it's really going to go anywhere. But again, that doesn't mean he can't waste your time. He can still probably find a way to waste your time, even if everything ends up at a plateau going nowhere. But I spoke to TJV, and as of today, he has not received any notifications or emails from Ohm's lawyers, and he still hasn't taken down his video. So it appears Ohm was possibly bluffing about the lawyers, or maybe Ohm did show his lawyers the video, and they were like, yeah, man, there's nothing we can really do. He didn't actually say anything. As a matter of factly, he didn't make any real declarations. And so Ohm, rather than providing anything to back up his claim that he was actually pursuing legal action against TJV, he instead vented by deciding to make a video attacking or mocking TJV personally. He has a really sped up, high-pitched voice playing over a video with these messages that Ohm himself created, claiming TJV was talking to underage girls, which right there is already a different situation. TJV received screenshots from somebody else making these claims, and he legitimately didn't know 100% without a doubt whether they were fake or not. Ohm, in his parody video, which he makes sure you realize is a parody video, it says parody right at the beginning, but in this case, he's posting screenshots that he himself fabricated in hopes that people would perceive it as, like, comparable. But even after the tone-deaf comparison, he doesn't just stay on topic, he then defaults to personal attacks, showing an image of TJV at a Halloween party from years ago where TJV was wearing a shirt and underwear, and then he starts making jokes claiming or insinuating TJV as a small penis by also insinuating his dick is a tic tac. So yeah, Ohm showed a lot of his true colors right there. But something that needs to be pointed out, he actually went stalking through TJV's Facebook. Keep in mind, TJV doesn't post his Facebook link on Twitter or Discord. Ohm literally went stalking through Facebook, trying to find TJV, and then went digging through years of TJV's photos, mindlessly searching for something or anything to use against him, searching for anything to use as some type of insult or leverage. Ohm is a 40-year-old man who went stalking a younger man's Facebook to dig through years of his personal Facebook photos, all so he could make a juvenile dick joke insult in a high-pitched voice in a video he then posted on the internet to try and publicly humiliate and or try to hurt that other person's feelings? Middle-aged man who tries to convince the world of his calm, cool, collected, mature facade, but when it gets right down to it, when he gets upset at somebody, he results back to being a Facebook stalking high school freshman. And as I pointed out, I believe in my first video, Ohm has had a history of stalking people before. Not just including people he didn't like, but including crushes and ex-girlfriends as well. Ohm also tried to claim that, he's not the type of person who goes digging for dirt on people. He doesn't dig up old videos or photos and compile dirt or insults on somebody. Again, that was provably false by his own admission in his direct message with Delirious, where he showed unlisted videos on his channel of clips and dirt that he collected over a decent period of time to, in hopes, use against members of the Vanoss crew later. Look, if you want to believe that there's some validity to the claims of the girls Ohm's representing, I have no problem with that. I think there is probably something there as well. But if you still believe that Ohm is this guy with these pure motives, and you think that he doesn't look at these girls as just a nearby handy accessory to use in his vendetta against old colleagues, that he doesn't see those girls as just another weapon in his arsenal, viewing them in the same way that he views the videos he has of Delirious talking about how much money he makes, or of Delirious using gay slurs in the past, if you don't think that he sees these girls in the same way he sees those things, that his motives are only for justice, pure and simple, and he's not deep down this high school drama queen who is purely out there for his own motives and revenge. Personally, from what I've seen, I think you're wrong. He didn't see these girls as a chance to do the right thing. No, in the perspective of vindictiveness, he saw these girls as opportunity, an opportunistic effort, and a long line of efforts, with the end goal being smearing people he feels bullied him more than anything. And whether those girls truly get their justice or not, he's using them. And he's along for the ride, the same way he's used women in the past, the same way he's hijacked the voice and stories of other people in the past and used them for his own clout and revenge. And then once he was done with them, he kind of just threw them to the side. And when they called him out for using them, he just blocked them. And I honestly don't see him being any different in this situation. But I'm going to take this moment to segue into some good questions I got on my previous videos regarding the victims and their allegations. Now, to clear something up, Sai is looking for a direct apology from Delirious, but she never stated she was pursuing legal action, and Ohm doesn't possess the power to press legal action for her. Sarah, I believe, is the only one who's actually initiating any legal process against Delirious, which of course includes the investigation. And people have put Sai's story into question because of her past, because, doxing the type of lying person she was between 2012 and 2013, and because after showing her birth certificate showing she was born in 1995, she then changed her story to actually being younger than 16 in 2012, which of course is mathematically impossible. And the only evidence she made public about her interacting with Delirious was a screenshot from them playing Black Ops 2 in March of 2013. But Sarah actually had some conversations screenshotted from her talking with friends about Delirious, and also a conversation she had with Delirious, which included some dialogue that insinuates flirtation, which even if we don't currently publicly have any evidence to see that, he was sending pictures back and forth with her, having any evidence of flirtation with somebody underage doesn't look good regardless. Let's be real. But somebody asked a very important question. Why do certain people wait so long to come out, is what they're talking about? Because even after a few years going by, you risk the story becoming mangled over time, which is a good question. And there are reasons regarding rape, for instance, that are different than verbally consensual underage interactions, if that makes sense. If these events took place, this was a verbally consensual underage interaction, but because she was not of age, there was no way for her to legally consent. So to put you in the perspective of any victim in this type of situation, it's going to be hard for me to explain it to people who are still in their teens, to explain it in a way that you'll be able to completely comprehend or understand, but I'm going to do my best for any teenagers that may be watching. First off, how it happens and why there's control over the person who's younger. Any person with any type of power or status over you will have some type of control. That includes age and that includes occupation. When you're a teen especially, you're probably after or more drawn to somebody with some type of real status. If that status is being older or in a higher grade than you, or they have maybe a job or occupation or money or some type of fame, that's status. That's going to be alluring to you. Maybe even more than good looks or personality. But if they have that status and they have good looks and they have personality, that's just even more control. So for instance, if I was a 15 or 16-year-old kid watching my favorite older, attractive female YouTuber, the fact that she's older and the fact that she is in some position of power or status is alluring. It would probably give her very easy control over 16 or 15-year-old me. When you're 15 or 16, you don't think that you're impressionable. You don't think that you're easily persuadable. You don't think that you're predictable or that you can be manipulated. But when you get older and you look back at yourself, or you just look at other people around you who are currently that young, you realize that you were and they are. You realize how easy it would be for someone who is moderately attractive around a decade older, in even the slightest position of power or status, to then take advantage of someone that's much younger. Even a teacher is technically a position of power or status. If a female teacher is moderately attractive, she could easily take advantage of some young hormonal teen. And the teen's perspective in the moment, this is the important part, is that this is great. This is awesome. They don't see the possible dangers. They don't realize the possible damage this could cause. They don't see it as really being that wrong. They don't realize how easily they are being manipulated, or that they're being manipulated at all. And when the fling dies down, when the fling ends, it can take a long time. It can take several years for you to grow up and mature and then look back with a new enlightened perspective and say, wow, you know, that was actually pretty fucked up. When you're 16, you feel mature, you feel grown, but when you get to your 20s, let alone mid-20s, you look back, or maybe when you get older, you have a kid of your own and you see them when they're in their teens, or maybe when you're in your 20s or mid-20s, you have a niece or nephew that's 15 or 16, and you look at them and you think, oh my God, it would totally not be okay if someone in their mid-20s was hitting on my 15 or 16-year-old niece or nephew. Like, you have this new enlightened perspective when you get older. But that perspective doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen immediately after that fling is over. Imagine you're 16 years old and you were sexting an attractive older YouTube celebrity, right? And then the fling just ends. Even if right after it ends, you magically gain the maturity and perception of someone in their 20s and you realize how wrong it was and just how easily manipulated you were, you're still a 16-year-old kid living with their parents, having just sexted an older individual, an older man or woman. You're going to be scared shitless for your parents to find out you were doing that stuff, or that someone coerced you into doing that stuff. So even if on the off chance you do find something wrong with it immediately after it's over, you're going to be too embarrassed and scared to talk about it. And you're going to try to forget it or try to just leave it in the past. But most people in that situation don't understand that there was something wrong with it until they age enough to have a new perception. So anybody who was a victim of stuff like that, when they get older, they look back and they have that understanding, they then form a concern. Is the individual still doing that? Are they still doing it now? And if they're not doing it now, how long were they doing it after our fling ended? How many other people are out there that are like me? How many more girls or young men has this individual taken advantage of? Now, I'm going to try to put this into perspective for people who may be 16 or 17 watching this video. If you still don't understand or, you know, aren't really catching on, imagine if you were an 8-year-old kid, an 8-year-old boy, and a 15-year-old attractive girl said that she wanted to be your girlfriend. In the moment, you don't see anything wrong with it because you're not that smart. You're a dumb little 8-year-old, you know? This taller, attractive, more mature, developed girl wants to be your significant other. Boom, this is something cool, this is something new, you're all about it. But then, of course, you know, you get older, now you're 16 or 17 years old. If you saw another 15 or 16-year-old trying to have a romantic relationship with someone who was like 8, you would have a totally different perspective. You'd be like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're taking advantage of this individual. That's pretty fucked up. But that perspective isn't something you would have right away as an 8-year-old. That perspective isn't something you would have within a few days of something sick like that happening to you. It would probably take a good bit of time for you to fully realize, recognize, and understand how messed up that really was. And in Sarah's interview, that's what she explained allegedly happened with her. She alleges that she didn't really necessarily feel that there was anything truly wrong happening in the moment, but as years went by, she realized how young and naive she was and how easily she could be manipulated and taken advantage of, and she realized she was taken advantage of. And now she has a kid of her own. She also has family that's around 15 and 16. And in that perspective, it created concern. And she began to wonder how many more like her were out there. Was it still happening? And if not, when did it stop? And she was still a little reluctant to talk about it, especially because it's somebody who has fame. It's somebody who has supporters that will defend them no matter what. There are people out there who will defend and make excuses for Delirious, even if 100% undeniable evidence was ever to be thrown in their face. Just like there were people who made excuses for Minilad. Even after Minilad admitted to those things and apologized, there were still fans that were either in denial, still didn't want to believe it, or there were fans that would say, you know, well, I don't care that he did it. It's okay with me because I like Minilad. Fuck those girls for speaking up against my favorite YouTuber. There are fans like that out there. Not just for Minilad, but also for Delirious. And so even after being real with herself and how messed up that shit was, she claims that the possibility of, you know, the Delirious fanboy backlash was a real concern. And it suppressed not just her courage to do so, but the timing to do so. I really hope that puts everything in the best and fullest perspective. But anyways, that's why situations, specifically like these alleged ones, if they are true, can and many times do take a while to come out. And if you do look at cases where young girls in those types of situations do come out when they're like 16 or 17 about how effed up the situation is, it's usually because the interaction became violent. The interaction led to physical or sexual assault or rape, or because in order to maintain power over the young girl, the older individual initiated manipulation by use of threats, which scared the victim into speaking out about who they were talking to and what was going on. So again, they're not necessarily recognizing in the moment how manipulated they were or how truly messed up the situation is by itself. It actually comes out because they're reacting to worry of harm to themselves, physical harm. But in cases where these things happen, but there's no threats, there's no sexual assault or violence, and the fling just kind of dies out with, you know, the girl never feeling threatened, it usually goes nowhere, and older creeps get away with stuff like that all the time. And that rant isn't being presented as any type of proof or evidence. Obviously, again, these cases are still alleged, and I'm still staying open-minded, but I did want to address the question because it's a very serious and very common question. And in regard to these particular kinds of situations, there's usually a lot of misconceptions on why that is or why it could ever be. And as far as evidence, though, again, I feel like Sarah has revealed the most compelling stuff publicly when compared to someone like Sai. And this is strictly regarding her flirtatious contact with Delirious. I don't think they have any real evidence that Delirious was the one who threatened her and her child on Twitter. But since she is the one who's actually taking the legal route against Delirious, and considering what she has shown publicly, there's probably a lot better stuff behind the scenes that we actually, don't see, that they are saving strictly for the use of the investigation. I know people don't want to believe that that's how shit works, but honestly, that's how shit works. If you have really good evidence, you don't want to make it public until you bring it to the courtroom. That way you can surprise your legal opponent, giving them no time to prepare or try to create any case against your evidence, or give them time to tactfully write some type of persuasive dialogue in an attempt to convince the jury that they shouldn't even consider it or possibly look the other way, even if the evidence is real. That is the unfortunate reality of how lawyers work and how things go down in our legal system. It's very political. So there are in fact real reasons why people have to protect the best evidence they got. In turn, only publicly revealing evidence that would be considered, less critical. But again, if the conversation between her and Delirious is what they consider less critical, then that means there's probably better stuff than that behind the scenes, or at least they believe that the stuff they have behind the scenes is better. But yeah, anyways, that's the end of this video on TJV and Ohm's update and my rant in an attempt to try to answer some very important questions. I think it's good to talk about this stuff. I think it's good to be real about this stuff, to actually ask questions and search for an answer, to actually go listen and learn, and staying open-minded through all this. I definitely like seeing that type of stuff in the comments is all I'm saying. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, comment down below, keep the conversation going, and I will catch you guys next time.